feels like there's very little we can do, but that's not true. That's what they want you to feel like. They want you to feel helpless and voiceless. The fact that they are censoring us and trying to reduce our numbers and reduce our reach means it's working. For me, if you are being silent, you are complicit. The deputy head called me into his room. He's like, you know, we would actually really like to offer you a job. However, there is a condition. And I was like, okay, what is the condition? And he said, you need to stop talking about your support of Palestine online. Our money is powerful. The Muslim pound is powerful. The ethical pound is powerful. The humanitarian pound is powerful. So just be sensible in what you buy. Hey, you get to enjoy makeup and skincare and know that you're not funding the oppression of lots of innocent people. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I pray that I'm able to film this video and portray what I want to say clearly, even though I feel like there are 1,000 things running through my brain. I have made some notes on my iPad. What I will do is have timestamps down below and chapters, so you can skip ahead or skip to the parts which you particularly want to watch. But first of all, thank you for clicking on this video. I haven't been on YouTube for a couple of months now, and the main reason is because we moved house and then I lost my hard drive for editing. I've also been travelling and etc, etc. I do have a lot of moving vlogs to post and hauls and things like that, but it would just be absurd to just come back on YouTube with like moving vlog number 2 without making this video first. So this is my second real talk on my channel. The first one was after the Black Lives Matter movement began. This time we are here to talk about a cause that has been dear to my heart since the moment I found out about it. It's a cause that has been branded by the West and by the media as complicated and political, so that people like you and I are too scared and are too cautious to actually look into what's happening, to form our own educated opinion, to essentially keep us silent. And I've tried to be as vocal as I can about Palestine for as long as I can, and when I found out, I'll leave the year here, it's when I found out that there's actually brands that support this country who are oppressing millions of people, and especially beauty brands, because at the time I was solely a beauty blogger, and then I went onto Instagram, started posting my beauty stuff on Instagram, and then started YouTube. Especially when I found that out, I was like, hang on, I can't, with a moral conscience, be talking about makeup and all this sort of thing. You know, like, it's my hobby, I love doing it, it's something I used to love especially. I can't be talking about makeup and things like that whilst knowing that these brands are happily aiding millions of pounds to fund the destruction of Palestinian homes and essentially Palestinian lives. By the way, sorry, there is a Zionist fly in this room which will not leave me alone. It's trying to get me to stop recording this video, and I'm not going to do that. So we're going to ignore the fly and we're going to carry on, because we will remain strong in the face of chaos. I will go into the boycotting aspect of things towards the end of this video, because that is an active thing that we can do. And in times like this, which are unprecedented, like, a lot of us have seen this destruction and the unfairness and the cruelty and the inhumanity happening for years and years and years. And that's the first thing I wanted to say, was that, like, this is not by any means a new issue. And I know for literally hundreds of thousands of people, for the first time they started opening their eyes and actually looking into what is actually happening here, what's going on, how is this happening, how is the West allowed this to happen, why are the US and the UK still allowing this to happen and funding it and supporting it, and why is the media pushing such a one-sided view down our throats. I know that a lot of people for the first time in their lives have started looking into this, but for many of us this has been an issue that has pressed hard upon us for decades and decades. For me personally, when I first found out about this when I was in year 8, so I was about 12, 13 years old. I had no idea, you know, about Palestine. I didn't know anything about that, and then I started reading into it, and then I read about Gaza particularly, and it was, even then it was described as like an open air prison, the world's largest open air prison. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a prison is somewhere that you put people who are supposedly guilty for crimes into. So now, why is there a place on this earth in 2008 and onwards, like, that has innocent people, innocent men, women and children in a prison where they are not allowed to leave? They cannot leave by air, they cannot leave by sea. They are literally trapped in this piece of land. And not only that, they have a controlled amount of water that they have access to, electricity, supplies. It's all controlled by the oppressor. I could not get my head around it. I was reading this and then I was looking around. I remember speaking to one of my teachers and I was like, is this real? Like, is this actually happening in 2008? And again, I got the same response that I've had and read and seen so many times. It's a bit more complicated than that, sweetheart, you know, like there is a lot of bad blood between them and blah 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 blah. But like, it's amazing how when it suits them, the West are very much able to turn an incredibly uncomplicated topic into complicated, to again silence us and make us keep our mouth shut, which is just, it's not going to happen. Even though I rarely make videos like this on YouTube, on my Instagram, all I've been posting about, like 85% of the people that I follow, is the genocide that is going on right now. We're not going to call it a war. We are not going to call it a complicated situation. We're not even going to call it a conflict. For a war, you need to have two armies who are equipped and are at battle with one another. And a war is not involving children dying, civilians dying, innocent people dying. That's not a war. A genocide is wiping out lots and lots of innocent people under the pretense of, oh, we're trying to get the bad guys. And that's exactly what's happening here. Could not like come back onto YouTube without making my opinions very clear on this. Honestly, I feel like whatever I say in this video will never be enough. But even if it gets through to like 5 people, my points, and then they share it to 5 people who are outside of my echo chamber, then it will have done something. And this is what, first of all, like the main reason why I'm doing this is because this is what the Palestinians have asked of us. They've said more than aid, more than water, more than food. Bearing in mind they don't have these things, these 3 fundamental things that they need. They said more than that, we need those of you guys who can see past the lies and the BS of the West and the Western media. We need you to continue speaking for us, and we need you to share our stories, and we need you to not be silent. As harrowing as it is, as distressing as it is, as heartbreaking as it is to see images and videos every single day of children, of babies, of mothers who've lost babies, of fathers who've had to bury their children, of just everyday like human beings just like me and you going through the most horrific trauma and tragedy that we could not even imagine. As hard as it is for us to sit here and be eyewitnesses to that over social media, I cannot even fathom to actually be in that situation, right? So then who are we to be like, oh well, I need to have a break, like it's too much, you know? Like, first of all, we all need breaks, like let's not be dumb. We all need breaks, and nobody is on Instagram from 24 hours the whole time posting. Everyone is taking breaks, but you don't need to publicize it. You don't need to say, guys, I just need to like take some time out for my mental health. Sorry, but this is not the time for you to prioritize your privileged mental health over the people who have literally lost and are losing every single thing. Over 1 million people were told to evacuate from one tiny strip, which is, by the way, the strip's like the size of East London. It's not very big. So from one tiny strip all the way up, with nowhere to go, with the clothes on their back, maybe a backpack of stuff, with like literally no food, 500 millilitres of water a day per person, just about is what they've been getting. It's just insane how then there are still people who are then coming and saying, oh well, I really need to take mental health breaks. Take the breaks that you need to take. Go take a walk. That's what I've been doing every single day, apart from when the storm started, but every single day I've been going and having a walk a day. I have been trying to eat healthily as much as I can. I've been trying to do the things that I need to do so that I can keep coming back to just keep showing up for the Palestinians, because that's all we can do. And it's incredibly easy to feel hopeless in the situation. It's incredibly easy to feel as useless as international law, which has been continuously violated by the Zionists. But every single thing that we do is going to be, like, especially as Muslims, is going to be written for or against us. That's like one thing I wanted to like just address straight away, was that of course it's hard. Like who came into this situation, who woke up and saw, oh, there's a genocide happening, and thought, but you know, it's going to be fine, I'm going to be able to get through this easily. Like, no, of course not. Well, why would it be easy to witness a literal genocide happening? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be the hardest thing that we've ever witnessed, because it is literally what we have read and grown up in school learning about the Nazis and have exterminated so many Jews. Except this time around, even like, let's think of a more recent example, the Iraq War, which happened when I was in primary school, killed and took 1 million innocent lives. Even then, they didn't have the social media coverage that we do now, and that's something I'm so grateful for, because even then I was speaking to one of my khalas about this, and she said, you know, even back then all we had was the Western perception of what's happening in the Western media, and we all know that the Western media is incredibly corrupt. It is only going to tell you one side of the story, the side of the story who are paying them, who are funding them, who are giving them loads of money. Here you go, take all this money and only say how we are the ones who are being oppressed, and we are the ones who are being attacked by this terrible army, and our babies have been beheaded and all this stuff. Literally selling fake news. Like the fact that this storyline got out, that this journalist said, yes, I saw with my own eyes there's 40 babies who've been beheaded, and then it's literally been debunked, and she had to go back and be like, actually I didn't, I'm sorry. What do you mean you're sorry? The President of the United States then went on to national television and told the whole of the US and the whole of the world that we must condemn them because they've done this. And then, you know, the direct effect of that, the direct effect of blaming a group of people for a terrible, atrocious act which didn't even happen, fake news, then led to a landlord, a 71-year-old man in America who had a good relationship with his tenants, who coming into his tenant's home, the tenant's child knew this man, so much so that he went to give him a hug because he knew him so well and he saw him as like a grandfather figure or whatever. Like, they obviously had a good relationship there. And this 71-year-old was radicalized so quickly, so fast by all the media that he was consuming, that he then decided to stab this poor innocent little 6-year-old boy, Palestinian boy, American boy, because of these babies that didn't even exist in the first place. Now, you just need to hear that one example, and then if you are someone who has been sitting on the fence, and if you're someone who's just been keeping quiet and like watching and scrolling and then going about your day-to-day life because maybe you don't have any links to being a Palestinian yourself, maybe you're not Muslim, maybe you're not a Christian, because those are the three groups here who are being oppressed. I need you to understand why there's so much anger, rage and upset about their situation. And then you have to think about the fact that the government that rule the country that you live in are sending millions of pounds worth of aid to the oppressors. Not only that, but Rishi Sunak the other day went to Israel and shook hands with the monsters and said, we support you, we are behind you. And this man was not even elected. We didn't want him. He's not my prime minister, and we do not want him. He has financial links and ties business-wise to Israel, so of course he's going to go there and kiss their behind and say that he's there for them. The taxes that we're paying are going to fund the literal genocide that's happening in front of our eyes, and that's why it's so easy for us to fall into the state of like, what can we do? But it's very important that we don't. It's very, very important that we step back and pick ourselves back up. Again, think about the core things here, which is that the Palestinians have asked us to keep spreading awareness and keep sharing their stories and keep telling the world and keep speaking up. They've asked us to march for them and to stand in solidarity with them. And my sister went to the London protest and she said, you know, the one thing that like warmed my heart there was that I was expecting it to all be brown people, all be Muslim people, but there were so many people who turned up who were white, who were different ethnicities, different religions, who all can see through the absolute lies and disgustingness of the media and are standing for Palestine. And those pictures and those videos are getting back to the Palestinians, and that's giving them hope as well. And it's like such a small thing for us that we can do is just stand up and show up in our numbers by actually, like, you know, being their voice and standing up for them. Thirdly, it's really important that you're all utilising your right to speak to your local MP. There are so many links out there that you literally just type in your postcode, type in your name, and that's it, press send. And you've sent a letter asking your local MP to support and speak up for Palestine. Now, if they're going to get enough of these, they might actually start thinking, if they're not completely corrupt and have been brought by the Zionists, which unfortunately a lot of the Conservatives have, but they might actually start thinking, maybe I do need to look at both sides here. Maybe they've also been brainwashed as well, and maybe they are completely ignorant, which honestly, this is another thing. I just don't understand how anyone can be ignorant in this day and age. Like, the amount of education there is out there is insane. It's never been more. It's never been simpler to understand that the Balfour Declaration, the letter that the British wrote and then displaced like millions of people and gave one group of people the right to come in and take over land, and then since then how it's just been an absolute carnage since then. It's not hard to understand that. It's really not hard to understand that. And anyone who's trying to sit there and be like, oh, it's so complicated, no, just say that you support the oppressors. Just say that you're on their side. Just say that you are sitting here in your warm cozy home in 2023 watching a genocide happening and being like, well, It's not my family. It's not my friends. It's nothing to do with me. It's too complicated for me to understand. So I'm just gonna sit back and not do anything and not say anything and not spread awareness and not put it on my status and not share with other people and not educate and not inform. I just think that anyone who's doing that, I don't understand how they can sleep at night, especially, right, for me, there's people I'm seeing who I know in real life who are not Muslim, who have not shared anything, not shared one donation link, who have not shared one informative post, who have not shared anything in support of the Palestinians. And honestly, I'm looking at them with such a different mindset now, because it's like there is a literal genocide happening and you are keeping your mouth completely firmly shut. And I thought we were on a level. Like, I spent my time with you, I gave you my time, I considered you a friend, I considered you a close acquaintance or a colleague, and yet you can sit there and watch this happen and stay silent. And the wildest thing for me is the ones who are parents. How have you got your own children, your own son, your own daughter, you know, and you're a mum or a dad, and you're seeing that over 1,000 children have been killed, thousands of children have been left without parents now and are orphans and are going through the most unimaginable trauma, but yet you're still choosing to not say anything. Like, it is just not making any sense to me. With celebrities and influencers, it's like disappointed but not surprised. Obviously the ones who've come out to be so stupid and say, you know, I support their right to defend themselves, because like, how are you going to support the right of an oppressor to defend themselves when they're the ones who've been oppressing and have been oppressing for 75 years, but they need to defend themselves? Like, defend themselves against what? They're the ones who've captured these people and like restricted their rights to move that, but they have a right to defend themselves against what? Like, this is what's annoying me so much as well, and like listening to all these talks and like these conversations. It's like, well, do you believe they have the right to defend themselves against what? Against who? Even this notion that like Hamas is like controlling Palestine, but with what? With what? Who's funding Hamas? Like, look at the fundings that Israel gets in, and then look at the funding that Hamas is getting. Look at the deaths in Palestine. Look at this chart here, which shows you the number of people who have been killed in Palestine versus Israel. And then you're going to ask me or ask anyone if they have a right to defend themselves. Like, are you actually listening to yourselves? Like, it's just insane. Spend half an hour today reading and educating and informing yourself. If you can sit there and educate yourself and inform yourself on the Russia and Ukraine situation, on Black Lives Matter, on Stop Asian Hate, on all these other humanitarian issues and causes which are important, and can I just say, I have spoken up for every single one of them. Every single one. Anything that involves inequality and human life being lost, I'm going to be there speaking up about it, because that's just the kind of person I am. I'm not an amazing, incredible, extraordinary person. It's just called having basic humanity, and it's so sad that so many people are lacking that, first of all, and also people in my real life who are just still mute. Like, I really am this close to messaging them and being like, why are you not speaking? What is wrong with you? Because I can't understand it. Like, it just is not making sense. And I'm at this point now where I'm ready to cut off friendships that I've had for years and years and years because of their silence. Because for me, silence is violence. For me, if you are being silent, you are complicit in the genocide, because the one thing you can do is not be silent. The one thing you can do is spread awareness. And I get this like fear that the Zionists have put into people. Actually, I know I shared this before, but when I was training to be a teacher, so like I said, I've been boycotting products from that support the oppression of Palestinians. I have been boycotting that since I was, I want to say, about 20, and then obviously I was trained to be a teacher at 21, so that was already on my blog from that time. And obviously you just need to do a quick Google search of my name and that will come up. I'd almost come to the end of my training year, and the school that I was training at, they really liked me as a teacher, and they were like, you know, we would love to offer you a job. The deputy head called me into his room. He's like, you know, we would actually really like to offer you a job, however there is a condition. And I was like, okay, what is the condition? And he said, you need to stop talking about your support of Palestine online. And this was in 2016. And I just looked at him and I was like, excuse me, what? And he was like, yeah, we've got a lot of Jewish parents who just wouldn't be comfortable with you actively supporting Palestine. And I was gobsmacked. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to stop speaking for the people who are being oppressed and who are being denied basic human rights. And I think what you mean is you have a lot of Zionist parents, because real, true, Orthodox, believing, practicing Jewish people stand with Palestine. There is so many examples of that. I'm sure you've seen lots of examples on social media of lots of Jewish people coming together and saying, not in our name. My grandparents did not die in the Holocaust for you to then try and use their name and their death to try and commit a second genocide on another group of people. No. I've had that threat before, right? And you know, alhamdulillah, like I was able to then go on and find jobs, and like right now I'm not employed by anyone, and alhamdulillah I'm in a position where like I don't need to be, and I know that's a privileged position. I know a lot of people are like fearing for their jobs and their livelihoods, but there's also a lot of lawyers out there who are willing to help and willing to step in and stand up for your right to speak up for the oppressed. Like, you should not be being silenced, and you should not be fearful and worried about speaking up for what is right because you're worried that they're going to try and take away your livelihood or whatever. But overall, especially if you're Muslim, guys, especially if you're Muslim, I really need you to understand that rizq, your money, your income is only from Allah. So these puppets who are trying to control your freedom of speech by threatening your job, they are not in control of anything. Allah is seeing all, is knowing all, is seeing your intention, and if you do lose your job, which I pray and hope that you don't. I pray and hope you don't lose your job. But if you do, inshallah, you'll be have it replaced with something so much better. I promise you that. I promise you that. Like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never allow you to suffer such an important financial loss for like being on the right side of history. And that's what it comes down to, really, is like this. You know, there's a lot of posts that's like, you know, we see you. We see the selective activism. We see that you spoke up for all these different causes, but now you keep your mouth shut. We see that you're valuing a Palestinian, Muslim and Christian lives as so much less than other people's lives. And we are not impressed. We are so not impressed. I'm really like very, very disappointed with a lot of people in my real life. And like I said, in terms of these influencers, like there was a video that's going around today, which is this British white influencer, and she's literally said that she spoke up for Palestine, and then she had a video that was supposed to go up as a brand deal, and they said no, we don't want you to post it because you support Palestine. She was like, excuse me? And they were like, yeah, you need to take that down, and then you can post a video and then we'll pay you. And she was like, no, you're not going to try and buy my values and morals. I will always stand for Palestine. And then they came back to her and they said, we will pay you double if you take it down and then say that actually no, I stand with Israel. This is the thing, like the Zionists, not the average Israeli, because the average Israeli, I don't believe, supports genocide. I believe that the Zionist extremists within that country and around the world who believe that they have a right to ethnically cleanse and commit genocide on the Palestinian people, they have so much money and so much power and so much funding from the West and from all these brands, and you know, they have all of this money and power, and they will be throwing this money and power out at everyone who will take it. So a lot of these celebrities, I mean, we've been knowing celebrities have been sellouts, we've been knowing this, and influencers now are even being told that, you know, you get paid double if you denounce your support of Palestine. Like, that's how desperate they are, guys. Like I said, this is what makes this particular genocide stand out and be distinctly different from anything in the past, is that for the first time in history we've got social media, and that's something they hate. They hate it. They're trying to censor us. Every single person who's posted about Palestine or Gaza has seen their views drastically drop. I usually get between 1,500 to 2,000 views on my stories, and any time I post about this, right, I get censored and it gets down, and right now I think it's at 200 views, something pathetic like that. And at first, like, it does make you angry. Of course it makes you angry. Like, why is it that the lipstick I'm sharing on my breakfast is more worthy of views than a humanitarian issue? But actually, a post that I saw recently was like, the fact that they are censoring us and trying to reduce our numbers and reduce our reach means it's working. They don't like us standing up and speaking for the truth. They don't like us having a voice. They want to push their narrative so much. They're literally paying for advertisements to try and portray themselves out to be the oppressed. And it's not funny, but it's like pathetic. It's so pathetic that they've got so much money to be paying YouTube and putting ads on. And even like there was something disgusting, like some kids YouTube channel, which there was an ad in front of it. It was like written like, you know, this is a message for the parents. We are being attacked, but you're not, because all the pictures and images show the opposite. They all show Palestine in tatters, they all show Gaza, the carnage and the mass murdering and the literal genocide, right? The pictures speak for themselves, and they don't want the pictures to come out. They don't want the real narrative to come out. They're going to keep pushing this fake narrative. Even the fact that they claim responsibility for the attack on a hospital where people are who are critically injured, and there are doctors and nurses who are trying to save people's lives. They attacked a hospital. They claimed it. They said, yes, we've managed to conquer and defeat like so many like targets of Hamas, and then quickly deleted the tweet. And I said, oh, that wasn't us. That must be from inside. No, you're not fooling anyone. And it's quite hilarious actually how they literally are trying so hard, pushing so much money into it, trying so hard to silence the truth coming out, and it's not working. Ha ha ha. We will not stop. We will not stop standing up for the oppressed. We will not stop standing up for what's right. You can threaten us, you can do what you want, but it's not going to happen. Like the fact they tried to ban the Palestine flag. Are you mad? Are you mad? You are trying to say that I can't hold up a flag in support of a group of people who are being horrifically oppressed. For what reason? Give me a really good reason why. Like, it's just insane how much like Israel says jump and the West are like, how high can we jump, Israel, how high? Like, it's just insane. Okay, so I think this part of the video really needs to be about like now navigating what we are doing outside of sharing, because yes, absolutely sharing is so important and you should be sharing it far and wide on every single social platform that you have, including WhatsApp status. Yes, be an auntie and share it on your WhatsApp status, okay? WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you have, you should be sharing. Just keep sharing, keep spreading awareness, absolutely. Right, first of all, then go to these marches, go to these demonstrations and show up in your hundreds and thousands, and do not allow this narrative that, oh, they are violent protesters and they're this and they're that. Like, again, lies. We see you Western media, we see what a bunch of pathetic lies you are. We're going to keep showing up for the people who deserve it, because we are going to be on the right side of history, not you. So show up for that as well. Write to your MP, sign the petition to the governments, send aid where you can to the right people. Now, I have read that you shouldn't be sending aid via GoFundMe or just giving, because both of them are not actually giving the money to Gaza, which is disgusting. But yeah, just be very aware of that and just make sure that you're researching accurate charities who are actually going to be able to give aid. Now, at the moment, no aid's been allowed to go in. Literally, it's been blocked. Humanitarian aid has been blocked. That's what you need to do. They are not allowing basic resources to go in. So there are doctors who are using vinegar as an antiseptic, and it's just unthinkable. It's just insane. It's horrendous. It's like worse than any horror film you can ever imagine. It's happening in real life in 2023. Either want you to be so brainwashed and blind to it and just like taking their lies, or they want you to be so paralyzed with like, oh my goodness, this is happening, that you just freeze up and you don't do anything. And that's why one of my main points of this video and reasons for doing this video is to urge you all to be proactive in what you are doing in your day-to-day life outside of raising awareness, which is very important. I am not by any means saying don't continue to post things like you should, especially because I read something disgusting today that was like, Israel have now been given the green light to go into Gaza. What do you mean? What do you mean? I dread to think what the next couple of days and weeks are going to entail. That's the thing as well. It's like, once all this is over, which it never really is for Palestinians, and once they've decided to stop raining down mass weapons of destruction on this tiny little strip, those remaining survivors, how are they supposed to navigate life? Like, how are they supposed to process the trauma that they've been through? How are they supposed to live normally? The last thing you can do, in my opinion, is boycott. And BDS has been around for a very long time, and they're very threatened by it, guys. They're very threatened by it. They tried to ban it. They tried to ban BDS. Now, anything they try to ban or suppress or minimize, you have to think like, that seems to be a little bit of a threat to them, so I'm going to keep doing it, because if it means that they feel a little bit threatened, let's keep going, right? So it's really important that we, as a community of people who have humanity, right? It's literally like people who've got humanity versus those who don't. That's what this is. Those are the two sides. Okay, you either have humanity and you stand with Palestine, or you don't have humanity and you stand with genocide. Okay, that's it. That I don't make up the rules. That's just the way it is. Now, the people who've got humanity, we have to be very strategic in how we're boycotting. There is an official list, okay, and I personally, in my years as being a blogger, especially as an ethical blogger, I focus on encouraging people to boycott L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Johnson & Johnson, the big brands like that who are very well known to be funding the oppression. And what happens is a lot of times when people first find out about this, or they relearn about it, or something like this resurges, because like I said, it's been happening for 75 years, is that they are like, yeah, I'm gonna boycott everything and I'm gonna do it, and then they get very overwhelmed. And I've seen it happen so many times, guys. Like, I literally have been encouraging boycotting, especially in the beauty industry, for, I don't know, since, well, I'm 28 now, and I think I started that when I was like 20, so like 8 years, right? At least 8 years. And what happens is that people go into it with good intention and then they just give up. And I would really urge you not to do that. I don't know if everyone would agree with me with this, but I personally think it's better to look at what you're using currently, look at the boycott list, and then make a pledge to yourself, for the sake of God, for the sake of Palestinians, to, once you finish using that item, to just swap it with something that's not on the list and never go back to that item again. So for me, that was things like the MAC Face and Body Foundation. That used to be one of my favourite foundations. I never bought it again after that because there is literally 100 other foundations out there that I could use that I know by buying those brands my money is not going directly into the hands of the oppressors. That's what it is. That's as simple as it is. Like, a lot of people try and use that excuse of like, well, our taxes are paying for it anyway, so what does it matter? Like, what does it make a difference? Like, the difference is that I know that the beauty products I'm using, these non-essentials that I really enjoy using, are not funding it. That's it. That's as simple as it is. Whether it's making a massive difference in the grand scheme of things, that's as simple as it is, and of course it will make a difference. Our money is powerful. The Muslim pound is powerful, the ethical pound is powerful, the humanitarian pound is powerful. So just be sensible in what you buy, and just know that like once you switch over to these ethical alternatives, you're going to feel so much better because hey, you get to enjoy makeup and skincare and know that you're not funding the oppression of lots of innocent people. Literally, it's as simple as that. My list that I made 3 years ago do need to be updated, and I'm working on them as I speak, I promise you. The lists are available on my Instagram, on my ethical beauty highlight. The things that you need to remember or bear in mind is that Chanel is no longer ethical because they donated millions of pounds. Kylie Cosmetics can get on the unethical list as well because she stands with them as well. And Jo Malone, I'm pretty sure, was on an unethical list. The lady herself, she's not associated with the brand, so her own son was supporting Palestine. It's a shame that her name has been like tarnished and in the unethical pile, but the brand has been brought by an unethical parent company, so yeah, just bear that in mind. So I will be updating those lists, and what I like to do is have a list very clearly of the brands that are unethical for you to avoid, and then I like to have lists of brands that are ethical. And I'm going to try and make it clearer and make it, you know, easier to read, and I'm working on it, so just bear with me. And also do send me the brands that you have come across who have been very vocally in support of Palestine, and vice versa. Those are the actionable things you can do, and I want us to remember that. Like, I think it's very easy to fall into a state of despair and helplessness. I'm sure all of us have been, like lots of us have been affected in more ways than one. Most of us are not sleeping properly. It's very hard to just get about our normal day-to-day lives knowing that this genocide is happening right now as we speak, and knowing that, you know, like it feels like there's very little we can do, but that's not true. That's what they want you to feel like. They want you to feel helpless and voiceless, and we can't. For the sake of the Palestinians, we cannot do that. We cannot fall into that state of despair. We have to have tawakkul, we have to have strong faith, especially us Muslims, that there are things we can do and that Palestine will be free. And there's a lot of really incredible, powerful videos out there which have helped, and I've saved them all to my highlight. I think the Palestine highlight must be so long by now, but the ones by Omar Suleiman, the ones by Abdurrahman Murphy, the one by Zubi, he's amazing, he's incredible with his education on what's happening. I really recommend watching their videos. And sometimes you do need those pick-me-ups, you know, because it's very easy, again, like I said, to fall into this just incredible sadness, and it's like we're all mourning and grieving, but also witnessing even more atrocities and even more genocide happening, and it's just like a never-ending nightmare at the moment. But like I said in the start of the video, that's how we're feeling, but we're not living it. We don't have to experience being there on the ground. We have not just lost our mother, our father, our grandparents, our children. Like, we get to be in our lovely, safe, warm, cozy environments, and therefore these 5 things, these 5 actionable things, are the very least that we can do. The last point that I wanted to quickly touch on, which is probably one of the most important points, is that I think now more than ever, I mean, to me, they've always been the most incredible group of people, the most resilient, the most strong. Like, they've always been like in another league of their own. Like, the amount of oppression they've seen from the day they were born to the day they die it's insane. Like, none of us can even imagine going through a fraction of that. But subhanAllah, like, there was another video that came out which was like, if you actually listen to these videos that are coming from the ground, these Palestinians, their faith, their tawakkul, the fact that they keep saying Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, and they keep saying Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, it's just like, if that is not strengthening your iman, I don't know what will. Like, they are being faced with the greatest trials that we could not even imagine, and their faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still so strong, and subhanAllah, it's beautiful. It's definitely made me spend more time after my salahs praying and speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making dua for them and making dua for us as an ummah as well, so that we are inspired, because even whilst they're going through a genocide, they are still showing and teaching the Muslim ummah so much. And they have nothing materially in this world. They literally have nothing. They have no homes now. They have just like very little possessions. They have had so much torn away from them unjustly, And yet they know that their reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know that they will be given, inshallah, the greatest palaces in Jannah. They know that as soon as they get to Jannah, they will forget this pain. And subhanAllah, to like have that tawakkul and that strength and that belief, like it's very easy really to say it when you're not going through a form of hardship, but they are visibly in front of us and in front of our very own eyes going through this horror, and then maintaining the tawakkul and the faith. Subhanallah. So they really have been a lesson to Muslims worldwide. The other thing I was saying to my khala was like, it's incredible how much support financially, how much backing financially the Zionists have, and yet they still can't defeat the Palestinians, because they just won't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Palestine will be free. It will be free. And alhamdulillah, we are so proud and so grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the Palestinians that strength. And I make sincere dua that in my lifetime I get to see the day that is free, and my children, inshallah, to come, will be able to say, wow, Palestine's free. Like, and they'll be able to ask us, you know, like, mama, like, what happened? Like, what was going on? And I pray and pray and pray that in our lifetime we get to see that, because I don't know a group of people who deserve that more than the Palestinians. That's why, for everything they're going through, for everything they are experiencing and suffering with, the least we can do is keep speaking. The least we can do is be their voice. The least we can do is keep educating and informing and trying to speak to people who are outside our echo chambers and outside our bubbles, and really keep passing on the message of the truth, because the media and the Zionists and the West, they don't want us to do that, but we are not going to stop. This video has been very long. I hope it's not been too rambly, but it's probably the most important video I've ever made in my life. I always feel like I will never do justice on the topic. I probably haven't at all. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everyone's efforts and du'as and brings an end to the suffering of these beautiful, beautiful people. I mean, just keep going, keep posting, keep showing up, keep boycotting, keep protesting, keep speaking to your MPs, keep raising awareness. Keep going. Assalamu alaikum.